When you first get into motorcycling, there's a lot to learn, and sometimes we figure out things the hard way. So in this video, I'm gonna give you some advice that I wish somebody would have told me before I started riding a motorcycle. Now let's hop into it. The first item on my list is I wish somebody would have told me that motorcycle gear is expensive. I've learned that trying to save an extra dollar and cutting corners actually costs you more in the long run. You have to invest into quality gear because, for one, your safety depends on it and the durability. Typically, cheap gear doesn't last as long and you end up spending more money because you have to buy new gear. And not to mention, it typically isn't as comfortable, and when we're riding out on the road, it's important to be comfortable. Learn from my mistakes. When I first started riding, I went out and bought the cheapest helmet that I could find. And let me tell you, it wasn't comfortable at all, and I ended up going out and buying a quality helmet a couple months later. Not only do we have to think about gear, we also have to think about how much it's gonna cost to maintain our motorcycles. You're gonna have to do regular maintenance, replace your tires, and let's not even get started about upgrades. All this stuff adds up, so make sure you keep that in mind. The next thing I wish somebody would have told me is learning doesn't stop after the basic rider's course. The basic rider's course is great, but it pretty much just gives you a license to go and hit the parking lot and practice more. If you want to be safe while you're out on the road, you have to be continuously learning. This took me a couple years to figure out, but once I discovered it, there was no turning back. It just made riding that much more enjoyable, and I wasn't scared when it came to the twisties anymore. Even the best riders out there, they're still learning as well. Hop online and take a look at some of the advanced motorcycle courses that are available to you. I've personally taken the Lock and Lean course, Pro Rider, and I always make time to make it out to Georgia to practice with Robert Simmons. If you can't afford or make it to these courses, don't worry. Hop on YouTube and look up Robert Simmons, Pro Rider Central Texas, Canyon Chasers, Moto Jiu-Jitsu. There's a ton of other creators out there like myself that help you become a better rider. Now be aware, just because you watch these videos doesn't mean you're gonna become an expert rider. You have to go out to the parking lot and implement all these techniques. Trust me, it takes a lot of hard work and dedication to become a better rider, and I'm not done learning myself, and I never will be. Next on my list, always have extra gear. I can't stress this one enough. Experienced riders, we've all been there. You check the weather, it's beautiful, 80 degrees outside, not a cloud in the sky, and they're not predicting any rain. So you think you're in the clear, you don't pack an extra hoodie, no extra gloves. The next thing you know, you're out on your ride and it starts raining and gets cold. I've learned it's better to have it and not use it. At a minimum, I suggest packing a hoodie, some extra gloves, and rain gear. I found myself in this situation multiple times and I got sick of it, so I always pack this gear. There's nothing worse than being cold and wet while riding a motorcycle. Next thing that nobody told me, the highway isn't as scary as you think. I've had a lot of new riders express to me that they're afraid to get onto the freeway. I felt the same way when I first started riding because you're going at a higher rate of speed, so it seems a little more risky. In all actuality, it's safer. According to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, 92% of motorcycle accidents occurred on non-interstate roads compared to 8% on interstates. This kind of surprised me when I found this out, but it makes sense. All the traffic is moving in one direction. You don't have any stop signs or intersections, and you don't have to worry about anybody coming head on at you. Well, for the most part. The freeway's much wider than a regular road, so you have more room to maneuver if you're in an emergency situation, and typically there's less congestion compared to city roads. I know the first time I hit the freeway on my motorcycle, I was a little nervous, but after about 5 minutes, I realized it's just not that bad. Next, you have more traction in the rain than you realize. I wish somebody would have told me this sooner because every time it would rain, I would start getting nervous. The simple truth is you're able to maneuver your motorcycle just about the same on dry pavement. Now, of course, it's going to be a little more slick out there, but as long as you keep all your inputs to your motorcycle nice and smooth, you're going to be okay. I had this light bulb moment when Robert Simmons came out to Columbus to do a practice session. It was raining pretty good, so before the session started, I decided to get out on the course and see exactly what my motorcycle can do. And sure enough, I was able to complete all these exercises. A good piece of advice that I've gotten, if it starts to rain, try and wait about 15 minutes because this is when it's going to be the the most slick on the road. Let the rain wash off all the oil and debris, and then you'll be good to go. Now this one can save you a little bit of trouble. Always plan ahead and have a backup plan. While we're out riding our motorcycle, anything can happen, so make sure you have a plan in place in case something goes wrong. This can be as simple as having a tire plug kit, air compressor, or having a buddy or somebody with a trailer that can pick you up in case you break down. It's better to plan for the worst and hope for the best, so that way you're prepared. In my experience, if something can go wrong, it probably will. Like last year when I did my iron butt all the way out to Daytona, everything went great on the way there, but the way back, that's a different story. It was the middle of March, and of course in Ohio, the weather's unpredictable. I was heading back, and then the weather took a turn for the worse. There was a big snowstorm. Luckily, I had a backup plan. I was able to call my dad to get my trailer, and he trailered me the rest of the way back.
Thanks, Dad.
Without this plan in place, I probably would have been screwed and had to ride through the snow. Nobody wants to do that. Now this one's inevitable. You're gonna end up dropping your bike. This one's bound to happen, and you need to be prepared for when it does. You definitely need to have motorcycle drop guards, promo code in the description, and you need to be wearing all the proper gear. In addition, you need to learn how to pick up your motorcycle after it falls over, because sometimes you won't have somebody there to help you. Now don't let this hurt your ego. Yes, it can be a little bit embarrassing, but it happens to everybody. I know when I first started riding, it was only about 2 weeks, and yep, I dropped my bike. I was turning onto a side street. I took the turn way too slow, bumped the curb, and I fell over, and this happened to my knee. Ah! Ah! It was okay, I learned from my mistake, and I made sure that I went out and practiced. Now this one's common sense, but you don't really think about it until you're doing it. It takes extra time to put on your gear. Now it's not gonna be like putting your shoes on and then just hopping in the car. You have to get your helmet on, your gloves, your jacket. It takes some extra time. It's gonna take you at least an extra 5 minutes to get all your stuff on, so make sure you plan accordingly. Now this next one, I know a lot of you can relate to. It's addicting. The feeling that you have while you're out on the open road and the freedom is unmatchable. I find myself getting all my gear on, hopping on the bike just to go around the block to the store. Instead of hopping in the car for a 5-minute drive, I'll get on the bike and I might get lost. Riding a motorcycle can be therapeutic, and you're always gonna have that urge to get out and ride. If you live somewhere where the weather gets bad in the winter, you can find yourself down in the dumps because you're not riding your motorcycle. And quite frankly, nobody told me I was gonna have this feeling. So here's your warning. Now, nobody told me how many adventures and how many friends I was gonna make just from riding a motorcycle. I've been to some pretty cool places, and I don't think I've ever would have made it there unless I was riding my motorcycle. I mean, check out this place right here, the Big Muskie Bucket in McConnellsville, Ohio. This is one of the coolest places I've ever been, and I would have never made it there unless I was riding a motorcycle. And not to mention all the friendships that you'll make along the way. I've made some really good friends exclusively from the motorcycle community. And back to it again, if I never started riding a motorcycle, I probably would have never met these people. Do you have anything to add? Let me know down in the comments something that you wish you would have known before you started riding a motorcycle. For some more awesome motorcycle content, YouTube picked this video right here for you. So make sure you click on it. As always, this is Jogo with Jogo Motorcycle Adventures, and until next time, ride on.